welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. Today, we are going to take a look at the Bitcoin chart and we're going to run through the latest news. There is a lot to discuss today, so let's get straight on with it. Don't forget, if you are new here, to like and subscribe and press the bell notification button so that you don't miss these live streams. We do these every single day at 7 a.m., 11 a.m. so that we can all stay up to date with the news. It's very important to stay up to date with what's going on, and watching how the markets react is a very good way to learn what's happening in crypto. So let's now take a look. Let's check everything's working here smoothly. Let's take a look at the charts now. Let me pull this up on your screen so you can see what I'm looking at as well. We have CoinMarketCap up here, and we have Bitcoin at $20,965. We have Ethereum at $1,550 as well. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin price and see what's happening, see what's going on. Let's put a like goal on today's video. Let's try and get 50 likes by the end of today's stream. We have a huge amount of news to discuss today, so I expect it to be a long one. So get ready for this one. Get your coffees at the ready. It's going to be a big day. First, we are looking at the weekly chart for Bitcoin. And you can see that we have this bullish divergence on the RSI. So this is when we have two lows on the RSI that correspond to two lows on the price chart, where the second low on the RSI is higher and the second low on the price is lower. That is exactly what we have seen. And now we are starting to see that bullish momentum picking up from that bullish divergence. Moving on to a smaller time frame, if we take a look at the 1 hour chart, you can see we have this channel, this ascending channel, and we have broken through that. We broke through that when the US decided to spread some unnecessary FUD, and we saw that move to the downside. Obviously, we've recovered from that FUD now. Everyone knows what it is. It was actually positive news, but we have seen some price action still holding below this channel. We have, unfortunately, I believe, used the level of support from this channel as a level of resistance right now. So I'm now looking at the levels surrounding it. We have touched the price target from the channel. For a price target for me from this breakout, I would have taken the distance between the support and resistance and moved that to the point of breakout. You can see when we do that, we did actually just whip straight down and attack that target at full force. But now, right now, we have this level of resistance at $21,120, and we have levels of support at $20,630 and $20,475. In my opinion, we also have some CME gaps to look at as well. I think my face is a little bit too big on today's live stream. Let's make it a little bit smaller so you can see the charts better. We also have the CME gap for Bitcoin as well. So we have a gap in the CME chart at 28,800 approximately. We can do that more specifically, 28,800 exactly. And we also have a CME gap down at $20,000. So these are both acting like magnets for the price of Bitcoin. So depending on how we react in the shorter time frames, I don't think it would necessarily be a bad thing if we went down and closed that CME gap. And to close the CME gap, for those that don't know, it means we're going to see price action within that gap that was missed over the weekend of the CME. But looking at the Bitcoin chart, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing if Bitcoin moved to the downside, created some more support around the $20,000 level, and consolidated its price at these points before we continue upwards. Let's check in with the chat now, seeing what's going on. There's lots of people in the chat making sure to hit the like button. We have a like goal on today's video of 25 likes, and 50 likes, and we're already on 19. My battery pack has just died. This is not a good start to the stream. Give me 1 second to fix this, and then we'll be back on the stream ready to go again. What a nightmare. 30 seconds and we'll be back. Hold on. 2 seconds. Here we are back. Sorry about that pause in today's live stream. There was a little issue with the camera, but we are back on today's video. We still have lots of news to discuss. Sorry for that pause. Let's crack on now, though. I've held you up long enough. Let's take a look at the latest cryptocurrency news and see what is happening. So first of all, we have the National Australia Bank to launch stablecoin in mid-2023 on Ethereum and Algorand. Now, this isn't the first time that they have done so. Let's take a look at this article down here. I think we talked about the first one. The creation of AUDN only marks the second time an Australian bank is launching a blockchain-based stablecoin. Another major bank, ANZ Bank, issued a similar stablecoin last March, which facilitated a 30 million pilot transaction in 10 minutes. And now we are seeing AUDN be launched. This is going to be created on Ethereum and Algorand, fully backed by the Australian FIT to be held by the bank. So positivity from there, seeing more adoption, seeing actual banks taking part in blockchain, seeing blockchain go into traditional finance as well. Positivity within the markets this morning. It's a happy Friday. Taking a look now at the next article, we have Binance listed amongst top counterparties that received crypto from Bitslato. So Bitslato is the exchange that the US managed to create a huge amount of FUD about a couple of days ago. We saw the price of Bitcoin drop dramatically because the US Department of Justice said they were going to make this huge announcement, and it was about Bitslato, which it seems not many people had heard of before. I hadn't heard of this exchange before. It was a Russian-based exchange, I believe, and they have been charged with money laundering possibilities and all things like that. We've now seen articles saying Binance listed amongst top counterparties that received crypto from Bitslato. So it turns out that a lot of the funds that were coming out of Bitslato were finishing in Binance. Now, Binance is one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges. That's not anything to be alarmed about. That is just something that happens. You send money to different exchanges to withdraw it to your bank account. That is just how you withdraw your cryptocurrency. This is just unnecessary FUD about Binance for literally no reason. Binance were doing nothing wrong. They didn't know that Bitslato wasn't a legitimate exchange at this point, or that they possibly could be doing things wrong. And it's not Binance's responsibility to make sure that every cryptocurrency they receive has not been used in a not proper way on a different exchange. So it's not Binance's fault. It's not Binance's responsibility, and it's no FUD against Binance whatsoever. The news articles are just pushing this though, and we have seen over on CZ's Twitter. He's tweeted, if you look at his pinned tweet, in fact, we can pull it up here. If we take a look at Twitter, on his no, that was not Twitter. That was tweeted. If we take a look at CZ's tweets and we look at his pinned tweet, you can see he has put number 4 in a list of things to do: ignore FUD, fake news, attacks, etc. And if you scroll down to just a couple of days ago, he just tweeted the number 4, which meant there's going to be FUD coming. Just ignore it. It's okay. And this is something we've seen over and over again for Binance since FTX collapsed. We've seen a whole lot of fear about centralized exchanges in the markets. We've seen a huge amount of withdrawals from exchanges, which is a good thing. And we've seen even CZ said it's good to test how much you can withdraw from exchanges. We saw a huge amounts being withdrawn from Binance shortly after the FTX collapse. They withstood that perfectly, and they are still functioning as an exchange as they should do. They should have the funds if their users decide to withdraw their assets, unlike FTX. But we have seen more proof of reserves, more transparency within the centralized exchange platforms. We have an article here we'll skip to now. OKX has revealed a $7.2 billion of clean assets in latest proof of reserves report. So they are doing a proof of reserves every month to show their users that they have the funds in order to hold people's assets. And this has come off the back of the FTX collapse. Positivity. Every time there's something really, really bad that happens within the industry, we see positivity from the other side. It's terrible what happens, and a lot of people have lost a lot of money, but we're seeing the repercussions of this are actually positive. We're seeing proof of reserves, we're seeing transparency, we're seeing movements towards being a better industry, and we have more to discuss about FTX later on in today's video. But let's go back to where we were. We were looking at 1inch Network to venture into the hardware wallet industry. So we're seeing a hardware wallet being developed by 1inch. Positive news. We like to see hardware wallets, and we like to see the hardware wallet industry grow so that people have options to choose from. I know a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about the different hardware wallets available. Some people like Ledger. Some people don't like Ledger because there was an issue with their users' information. Moving on, though, to the next article, global crypto holders increased by 39% in 2022, according to Crypto.com. So, according to a report titled Crypto Market Sizing, the crypto industry saw commendable growth despite the intense crypto winter last year. The number of crypto users surged from 306 million in January to 425 million in December. So, it seems that people have actually realized that buying the dip is quite a good strategy. If we take a look at the markets, we know that the Bitcoin price peaked in November 2021. We saw a dramatic fall through the entire of 2022, and people have been entering the industry and deciding to buy the dip. So maybe the retail have just realized that this is the best option to do so. And we can see here crypto adoption in 2022 achieved new milestones, with the number of crypto owners reaching 425 million in spite of macro headwinds, namely high inflation and conflict in Europe, supply chain disruptions, and lingering effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're actually seeing adoption in the industry that is not something that I would have expected at such a rate in 2022 when the markets are down. Usually we see that kind of movement when the markets are in up only and we see lots of people making lots of profits, but people are starting to realize that it's not that much of a bad idea. And those people, if they hold on to their funds long enough and have diamond hands, will have a nice portfolio by the start of the next bull market. I was discussing this at the end of yesterday's live stream, I believe. Right now, for the Bitcoin chart in general, if we take a look at the bigger picture, I'm expecting Bitcoin to have when we zoom out at the end of the year, we'll probably have a nice slight upwards movement throughout the year, nothing too drastic. Obviously, we didn't have the Bitcoin halving until March 2024, but we should see nice upwards movement in general. But along the way, we're going to see huge amounts of volatility. So in that case, my personal strategy is dollar cost average when we see the volatility to the downside, and take profits when we see the volatility to the upside, and repeat and repeat and repeat. And it's very, very good to actually create a strategy in your head and keep that and stick to it even when sentiment changes, and know that the price has moved to the upside now and people are shouting it's going to go higher, but just be careful and make sure you always take profits, because when the next dip comes, you then have the liquidity to dollar cost average in a little bit more. Moving on to the next article, we have Trader Joe DEX plans to make its token more valuable for investors. And at the bottom of this article, it discusses the way that it will do so. Stakeholders receive a portion of trading fees accumulated on the DEX from SJoe. The V1 AMM still has fee share enabled, while the V2 AMM does not. When the liquidity book V2.1 is released in February, Trader Joe's will implement the V2 fee share for SJoe stakers. Users will have the ability to stake Joe into SJoe on Avalanche, Arbitrum, and BNB. So SJoe will also become a multi-chain staking option. And the changes proposed are SJoe will remain as a fee-sharing vehicle. SJoe staking will become available on Arbitrum and BNB as well as Avalanche. And SJoe fee share will be for each chain EG. Fees accrued on Avalanche will be shared with SJoe on Avalanche. Fees accrued on Arbitrum will be shared with SJoe on Arbitrum. And SJoe deposit fee will remain at 1%. So moving on to the next point, we have VE Joe, and with a total of 11 million Joe provided only to VJoe yield farmers, VJoe has created for emission sharing for the V1 AMM and unlocked increased Joe yield for those that accrued it. So all in all, if you want to know the entire description of how they're making the token more valuable, take a look at this article. I'm not going to go into too much depth because I doubt the vast majority of you are investors of this project, but just take a look at this. It's pretty interesting that we're seeing the tokenomics of this asset change slightly at this point in time. It's a pretty good timing to do so. Could see nice movements for the price of the asset. We can actually see what's happened to the price since these announcements were made. I've just clicked on the wrong one. Let's try again. Is this the right asset? I think so. Let's take a zoom out to the outs. if any of the words that I'm trying to say get to come out of my mouth. Let's take a look at this trade. Yeah, this is the right asset here. You can see it went all the way up in November 2021 to $4.50. It's now down at 18 cents. In no way am I endorsing this project. I would need to do more research on this one. It's ranked 341 in terms of market cap. But let's see how the price has reacted to this news. This is what we want to take a look at. Not much volatility, to be honest, since this news has come out. We'll see how this reacts when the functions have been put into place. Moving on to the next article, DCG Genesis Global files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, we have spoke about this numerous times on these live streams. We go through the whole list of what is happening. First of all, we have DCG, which is the parent company of Genesis Global. Genesis Global is the company that Gemini, the cryptocurrency exchange by the Winklevoss twins, was lending funds to in order to earn interest for Gemini users. So now we have seen Genesis file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, this doesn't actually mean bankruptcy. What this means is they want to restructure their funds and try and find a way to pay who they owe. So if we take a look at some, we haven't got them in this article. We might do another one this morning. We did, if we take a look at Cameron Winklevoss on Twitter, you can see that he's done a lot of tweets about this, discussing the effects that it will have on Gemini users. Let's pull this up here. We can actually see that this is quite a positive thing for Gemini users in these tweets. If we take a look, crucially, the decision to put Genesis into bankruptcy does not insulate Barry, DCG, and any other wrongdoers for accountability. And they've already stated previously that they are working let me find this. They've been working around the clock to negotiate an acceptable solution with Barry Silbert and DCG, the parent company of Genesis, but they refuse to offer creditors a fair deal. So by Genesis seeking the protection of the bankruptcy court, Genesis will be subject to judicial oversight and be required to provide discovery into the if the words were coming out my mouth, it would be a lot better. Mechanics that brought us to this point. We've been preparing to take direct legal action against Barry, DCG, and others who share responsibility for the fraud that has caused harm to the 340,000 plus earn users and others duped by Genesis and its compliance. So unless Barry and DCG come to their senses and make a fair offer to creditors, we will be filing a lawsuit against Barry and DCG imminently. So we've seen this ongoing war over on crypto Twitter. We've seen Cameron Winklevoss share open letters with us all that are aimed at DCG to try and sort out this issue and try and get those Gemini earn users their funds back. Now they've gone into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They will be restructuring their balance sheets and trying to make this possible and trying to get a fair deal for the users as well. So they are also pointing out that it doesn't protect DCG or Barry Silbert from a criminal charge. So they will still be filing a lawsuit against them because they haven't been handling this in the correct way, in their opinion. And Cameron Winklevoss, at the end of the day, just wants to save the face of Gemini Exchange and get those users their funds back, because otherwise it's not going to look very good on them as a company. Moving into the article though and see what's happening here. Reese said people are way too shorted and only see the title of articles. They see bankruptcy and make the conclusion that it's bad. Yeah, in the whole, it's not actually that much of a bad thing. We're actually going to see some conclusions come from this and see Gemini earn users are actually in a pretty good position right now, because we're actually seeing movement in the right direction. Taking a look now at the next article. This is not the right one. We are already over here. Let's see what this article says. Anyway, the bankruptcy filing ends weeks of speculation about what direction the crypto lender would take regarding its liquidity crisis, initially triggered by the implosion of Three Arrows Capital in mid-2022 and compounded by the collapse of FTX in November 2022. While we have made significant progress refining our business plans to remedy liquidity issues caused by the recent extraordinary challenges in our industry, including the default of Three Arrows Capital and the bankruptcy of FTX, an in-court restructuring presents the most effective avenue through which to preserve assets and create the best possible outcome for all Genesis stakeholders. We deeply appreciate our clients' ongoing patience and partnership as we work towards an equitable solution, said the Genesis interim CEO, And now, taking a look at this, Genesis bankruptcy filing proposed is the creation of a trust to distribute assets to creditors. So Genesis's financial woes directly affected its clients and those of Gemini Earn program. As a result, the team at Genesis Global has proposed a framework for a global resolution of all claims through and of the creation of a trust that will distribute assets to creditors. Its plan suggests a dual track process in pursuit of a sale, capital raise, and or honestly, I'm not having a good day today. This usually it's smooth. It's a lot smoother than this. All in all, taking a look at this article, it's not a necessary thing. We are going to see conclusions being drawn, and we're going to see hopefully the users that have staked tokens on Gemini's Earn function receive at least some of their assets back. Moving on now to the next article, ransomware payments declined significantly in 2022 as victims refused to pay. Ransomware attackers extorted $456.8 million in 2022, significantly lower than $765.6 million in 2021. Chainalysis said the decrease in ransomware payments results from more victims refusing to comply and not because of a decline in ransomware attacks. That does not mean attacks are down, or at least not as much as the drastic drop-off in payments would suggest. Instead, we believe that much of the decline is due to victim organizations increasingly refusing to pay ransomware attackers. So moving on to the next article, let's see what's going on here. US SEC orders Nexo to pay $45 million in penalties for violating securities law. So we saw a couple of weeks ago the Nexo headquarters in Bulgaria, I believe it was. This is a Swiss-based cryptocurrency lender, but I believe it was the Bulgarian government that was attacked their headquarters. Basically, we should be able to see this somewhere in this article. Either way, the SEC has now ordered the Swiss-based cryptocurrency lender Nexo to pay $45 million in fines for failing to register its lending product, EIP, which the agency classifies as a security. So the SEC are targeting more cryptocurrency platforms. They just seem to be shooting anybody that they see at the moment and hoping that they look like they're actually making some improvements into the space, trying to regulate as much as possible. In its press release, the SEC said Nexo started offering EIP to US customers in June 2022. Obviously, if they're offering securities, the SEC are going to step in and say that they can't do so. Surely the Nexo knew that this was something that that was going to head their way. Nexo revealed in December 2022 that it was phasing out all of its products and services in the US due to a lack of regulatory clarity. So this is the issue which comes into cryptocurrency. There's lack of regulatory clarity, and we see so many different cryptocurrency platforms. The move out of different jurisdictions because they can't follow the regulations correctly when the lines are so blurry. And then we see the SEC decide to attack random platforms as and when they wish. But moving on now to the next article, Cardano's Hoskinson says he could buy DCG's CoinDesk, but it's a bit overpriced. So CoinDesk, if I'm sure many of you know, is a popular cryptocurrency news platform. Here at Crypto Saving Expert, we're not a huge fan. We do have our own news outlet at cryptosavingexpert.com, which is soon to go live. So make sure to head over to the website and sign up so that you don't miss when we go live and you can see everything we've been working very hard on. But CoinDesk is a competitor of ours, and they are owned by DCG, the same parent company as Genesis, the platform that will lend to Gemini and have that whole issue with the Winklevoss twins. So right now, DCG are potentially looking to sell CoinDesk, their news outlet. So let's take a look at this article. Before we go in, I'd like to say Charles Hoskinson is the Cardano co-founder, for those who do not know. So taking a look at this, and he co-founded Ethereum as well back in the day with Vitalik Buterin. He has said he is considering purchasing the popular crypto news site CoinDesk, owned by the Digital Currency Group. And he added if he were to buy the site, he would overhaul it into a news and community site. With the failure of DCG, it looks like they are starting to sell off assets. CoinDesk is either raising money or attempting to actually get acquired. It looks like the price is probably going to hover around $200 million. Now, taking a look further down here, he said that the annual revenue was around $50 million. DCG bought CoinDesk for $500,000 in 2016. So for it to fetch 200 million was a 400x gain, which is pretty interesting for an evaluation. So he is saying that it is overvalued. It was 500,000 in 2016, and now they're saying it's $200 million in 2023. Yes, the markets have increased that drastically, though. I don't know, with an annual revenue of $50 million. Does seem a little high, but everything is inflated in cryptocurrency, so who knows how much they will actually be able to sell that for. Moving on to the next article, next part of the article now. In addition, he expanded on his idea of turning CoinDesk into a more community and fact-based site. One way was to have published work collateralized by some form of asset, which could be lost if the story was not true. Another would be for each article to be published as an NFT and for readers to have a means of interacting with it. A third idea he shared was for the news site to directly connect to the top 100 blockchains, give each project space to publish content on a regular basis. Interesting way to do so. We've not seen anything like this before in the cryptocurrency space for cryptocurrency news. $200 million is a bit overpriced, he said, as we discussed this a little earlier. It's a bit overpriced. There has to be more than that to that number. I can afford it if I really wanted to, but just because you have it does not mean you spend it. Very true. And he concluded it may make sense if one wanted to make that kind of financial commitment to take $5 or $10 million and actually start up a much more decentralized organization. So that'd be very interesting to see a decentralized news platform. But it won't beat the journalism. We have Crypto Saving Expert. Obviously, we have this brilliant site coming live very, very soon. Make sure to go over to cryptosavingexpert.com and head over. Just type in Crypto Saving Expert, press this sign up button, fill in your email, and you'll get an email in your box. Oh, and it's Friday, so we get an email on Tuesday, every single Tuesday at 11 a.m., recapping the latest cryptocurrency news, taking a look at what's happened in the markets that week, looking at different altcoins. Very interesting news articles every single week, and there's going to be a very exciting one coming to your inbox soon with some very exciting news. Let's moving on to the next article now. Let's see how many likes we've got on today's stream. We are aiming for 50 likes and we're currently at 38. So thank you very much to everybody who has liked so far. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe and press the bell notification button and help us on our mission to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Moving on to running out of articles now. We have one article left, and this is the big one of the day. FTX's new CEO is looking into restarting the cryptocurrency exchange. So obviously, if you haven't heard about FTX by now, you must have been living under a rock. Even people that aren't in cryptocurrency are coming up to me and saying, what's happening with this cryptocurrency FTX thing? Because we've been all over the mainstream media. Obviously, as soon as something bad happens, the mainstream media picks up, and as soon as something good happens, they seem to ignore it. Very interestingly, Sean O'Connor said, Jess, what's your personal channel called? You've mentioned it a couple of times in the past, but there's no link to it on here. It is Interpret Crypto, INTERPRET Crypto. So I do live streams every day on there as well. Make sure, please, to go over to there and like and subscribe. We're only a little small channel, but we're hoping to grow in the coming weeks. Reese said, isn't Jordan coming with some news about CSE this week, or am I delusional? Yes, there is some very exciting news coming. We are just organizing that all a little bit behind the scenes. Obviously, there's so much going on behind the scenes. It's unbelievable. There's so much to do, but there's so much to share with you all as well. But I can't be the person to share that news. As I've said, I don't think Jordan would be very happy with me. So we'll leave it to Jordan. Andrew said, extra likes must be because Jess is doing a brilliant job of it. Thank you very, very much for the support in the live chat every single day. I very much appreciate it. Now let's talk about FTX, because people are interested in this story and I'm talking about what's going on with CSE. So let's take a look at this and then we'll answer some questions in the chat. FTX's new CEO is looking into restarting the cryptocurrency exchange. So SBF was the CEO of FTX. He had a brilliant reputation within cryptocurrency. Just 6 months ago, he was seen as this god within cryptocurrency. He'd made a huge amount of money by arbitrage trading Bitcoin. He was buying it in Korea and selling it in the US and making like a 25% premium on his arbitrage trades. It was called the kimchi premium. and it was doing very, very well. He made a lot of money, and then he set up FTX, the cryptocurrency exchange, which became incredibly popular. It was a huge exchange, and then it turned out that they were using users' funds to gamble away, basically, moving it into Alameda Research and other things like this. He's been charged with 6 or 8 counts of fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy of wire fraud, endless. But he has pleaded not guilty to these crimes. Moving on from Sam Bankman-Fried, though, we now have a new CEO, John J. Ray III, said he was looking into the possibility of restarting the bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange. And he shared his insights in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, in which he stated that he had set up a task force to explore whether rebooting the international version of the exchange, FTX, was feasible. He added that some of FTX's customers had praised the platform's technology and suggested there would be some value in rebooting the platform, despite its former top executives being accused by US and Bahamian authorities of criminal misconduct. Now, if we have new management and we have the technology, which was good, the technology worked. There was nothing wrong with the FTX platform. There was something wrong with the people that were organizing. But if we have a new CEO and we have a new team and they work in a non-fraudulent way, then why waste the technology that is being built and that reputation? The reputation has been torn apart right now. But the actual exchange, the funds the exchange has, the business is already set up there. If it has a good management taking that place, there's no reason that FTX can't do pretty well. Moving on to the next article now. No, let's not move on to the next article. We've got more to show in this one. Everything is on the table, and he said if there's a path forward on restarting FTX, then we will not only explore that, we'll do it. So if FTX does get restarted and rebooted, I imagine we'll see a huge amount of withdrawals just from people that don't really understand the scope of this. Just because they've had their funds locked away on the platform for a period of time. If users can access those funds again, we'll see some withdrawals. But overall, if the exchange can be used again, I imagine the actual use of it will be picked up over coming months. New management, good technology. There's no reason to not use it because of Sam Bankman-Fried, because he's out the picture. He's no longer got any responsibilities within the company. Andrew said, I have suspicion they are trying to put every FTX charge on Sam, and then they will drop charges, or he will get a pardon, or they will do an Epstein, but secretly he goes into witness protection. It'll be very interesting to see the charges Sam Bankman-Fried actually faces. We've seen it very much varies. We've seen Do Kwon is perfectly fine. We've seen the creator of Tornado Cash. He's been in jail, I believe, since that whole scandal that took place. Moving on now, Brendan said, who's going to search through all that code for more backdoors, etc.? Bad news. Well, someone's going to have to if they're going to set up this company. At the end of the day, the new CEO does not want to ruin his reputation like Sam Bankman-Fried has ruined his. No one would step into this position and make the same mistakes, because he has put his reputation on the line, and he's just not going to do that, because people are going to be looking at this incredibly closely to make sure that everything is working as it should. So there's no way that he would step in and purposely do something wrong. I'm sure there's huge teams that can check through all of this and make sure that it could run smoothly if this is the route they decide to go down. This isn't a definite. This is just something that is a possibility. FTX could recover more value for its customers rather than liquidating assets. So right now they have their whole exchange set up. They have the bags, the cryptocurrencies behind the scenes. To refund their customers right now, they need to just sell all of those assets, liquidate everything, and then use those funds to work out their next move. But if they set up again as a cryptocurrency exchange, that's not the avenue they would need to go down. So they're two very opposing views. Very interesting to see what would happen. Lee said, I wouldn't use FTX out of principle. Would others still trust it under new management? Well, this is the argument that is to be had. A lot of people just veer away from the platform, not use it. And it's whether they can actually move that on and continue it as an exchange. It may take a rebrand or something like that for people to separate the two. But a lot of work would need to be put into the development of the exchange. Reset, it depends on how the rebranding would be, in my opinion. Yeah, it really just, it would be very interesting to see how they do it. But if they can prove that everything is separate from Sam Bankman-Fried now, that everything has been completely checked and it starts to pick up again. It's one of those things, new people will come into the space and they will start looking at FTX, which is rebranded. Probably forget this news that's been in the news a week ago, and it could still become a popular exchange. It'd be very interesting to see people's opinions though. So moving on now, I think that is the end of today's news. We've been on here for quite a while today. We've been on live for 35 minutes. I didn't even notice, probably because we had that little mishap at the start of today's video with the camera battery dying. Let's take a look at how many likes we were on. Let's do a little bit more of a Bitcoin chart overview for those that have only just joined the stream. We're currently on 40 likes, on a mission to getting to 50 before the end of today's stream. So make sure to continue pressing that like button. Let's take a look at FTT as well. Somebody said there's other exchanges to use. Yes, there are, and a lot of people will have that opinion as well. They need to look down this avenue. It would actually be a preferable avenue, in my opinion, for those that currently have funds on FTX. If they can get it back up and running, it would be less of a problem for the industry if they could get it back up and running. But we will see. Since this news came out about FTX, let's take a look at the price movement for FTT, because FTT is FTX's token, and we can see here, since this news come out, that we could potentially see a restart of the exchange. Let's take a look at the daily chart. We were trading it down at $1.80. The fact people still held this kind of does blow my mind, but maybe they foresaw this happening. We did discuss this happening on the channel a couple of weeks ago. Jordan came with the idea that it wouldn't be a bad thing to restart the exchange, predicting things before they happen here on Crypto Saving Experts YouTube channel. So make sure to like and subscribe. We do these live streams every single weekday. So we'll be back on Monday morning to do another live stream. If you are new here, make sure that you don't miss it. We're trading it down at $1.78 before this news came out yesterday, and we've seen a huge pump to the upside, and we even reached $2.46. So we've seen a nice move to the upside. For me to calculate that percentage change, it's not going to happen. I think it was around 30%. We can take a look on the TradingView and see what's happening here. Andrew said, at Jess, you need a green screen with a tropical island in the background. The other option to that, Andrew, is that we just get Jordan to send me to a tropical island, and then we wouldn't need to worry about the green screen. Taking a look at the daily chart to see here on FTT, we saw a price increase from down at 95 cents. Oh, no, this is the wrong chart. No, this is the right chart. We are right. Yes. When did this news come out? I'm making a mess of this. The news came out yesterday. So we've seen on the daily chart a move of around 40% for TT. So a nice move to the upside. And things like this are really, really interesting, because when we are reading the news every single day, I think this is a really good way to get into the cryptocurrency industry, just listening to the news, seeing what's happening and seeing how the price reacts to different things. This is a prime example of realizing how the price reacts in cryptocurrency so dramatically to certain news articles. So if we can stay on top of the news and see what's happening, it's a very good way to get into the space and become very knowledgeable very quickly, which is why we do these live streams, which is why you should subscribe and tune in every single day at 11 a.m. Moving on now to the Bitcoin chart analysis. Let's go through this for those that have only just tuned in. Taking a look at the Bitcoin weekly chart, we have bullish divergence on the RSI. So this is where we see two lows on the RSI that corresponds with two lows on the price chart, with the second low on the RSI being higher than the first and the second low on the price chart being lower than the first. This is bullish divergence and is a bullish indicator for Bitcoin on the bigger time frames. That's the weekly time frame. So when we're seeing bullish on the weekly time frame, that is a very, very good signal for us. Moving on to the next chart we have here, we're looking at the 1 hour chart on this chart here. You can see we had this channel. We were in it for 4 days. The US then flooded the market, caused this huge move to the downside. We then realized the news wasn't actually that bad. It was about Bitslado, that cryptocurrency exchange. Now we've seen price movement between these two levels. We have $20,630 to $21,120. We've used this level as a support and this level as a resistance right now. So we are expecting some more sideways movement until we see which of these we are going to attack next. We do have these CME gaps to take note of. We have a CME gap up at $28,800 for Bitcoin, which will act like a magnet. And we have this CME gap down at around just below $20,000 for Bitcoin. So we may see some movement to the downside, but as I said earlier, movement to the downside to $20,000 to create some supports, to create some consolidation wouldn't be that bad. It would be a positive thing. We'd see more supports being built below Bitcoin's price and see some move to the upside. What happened with the tap ban, please? I haven't seen how many tokens have been burned, but I will just explain what happens here. We see tokens being burnt, meaning they're moved out of circulating supply for the cryptocurrency asset, and therefore, due to supply and demand, is a positive thing for the cryptocurrency price. We can take a look at TAP and see what's happening. I've not taken a look this morning to see what's going on. We can see it is trading on Bitrate. You can see that it loads up straight away because it's something I've been looking at a lot. We're currently at 72 sats for Bitcoin. So instead of this being measured in pounds or pennies or anything like that, we measure it in terms of Bitcoin. So the sats is a unit of Bitcoin, just like the pound is broken down into pennies and the euro is broken down into cents and the dollar is broken down into cents. Bitcoin is broken down into sats. And you can see here at the start of January, this was way down at 1 or 2 sats. It even traded at 1 sat a couple of times at the start of the year, and it is now all the way up at 73 sats. We've seen a huge rise. We actually touched 90 sats up there as well. When the US flooded the market the other day, this absolutely tanked for a split second down to 44 sats, and it was a quick rebound to the upside. So this is moving in a very highly volatile matter, but the application is pretty cool. Obviously, nothing is financial advice. That is just what we are just looking at in terms of the cryptocurrency markets. When we did see this move to the downside, we saw some pretty negative price action for the altcoins. People are still have a lot of fear within the industry right now. The 24-hour percentage change column yesterday, if you were looking at it after the FUD from the US, it was all red, but it's all looking a little bit more positive this morning. We've seen some nice moves to the upside. Not too strong, but we've seen some nice movement. Bitcoin is up 1% in the last 24 hours and Ethereum up 2%. So nice steady movement. It always gives me a little bit of fear when we see huge movements in either direction, but we're seeing a steady path of incline. So it's a positive thing for crypto right now. It's looking okay. And we have those CME gaps to watch out for. It would be very, very nice to see us trade within this CME gap and touch that $28,000 level. I imagine the altcoins would perform incredibly well if we were to do so. But right now, it wouldn't be too bad either if we came down and closed and traded within that CME gap here, down to $20,000. So either way, it's a win-win for us in the cryptocurrency industry right now. And we have that bullish divergence on the RSI on the weekly time frame, having that on such a wide time frame. So what this means is on the weekly chart, each of these candles represents 1 week. So when this chart is bullish, that is a huge, huge thing for the entire cryptocurrency industry, because when Bitcoin's bullish on the longer time frames, the whole industry is bullish on the longer time frames. It's looking good for crypto right now. But that is all from me today. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, we've got 45 likes. We almost hit today's like goal, but let's try and get 50 on Monday's live stream. That is all from me, and I will see you on Monday at 11 a.m. Thank you very much for watching. One last question. Jeffrey said, are you Jordan's sister by any chance? No, I'm not. I've just been brought in as part of Crypto Saving Expert. I didn't know Jordan very well before I started in Crypto Saving Expert as a company. We also get asked if we're a couple. No, we are not. Andrew said I could have gotten earlier, but saw initial pump and held back. Missed the whole thing. It's always a shame with altcoins that move so high. Yeah, it's one of those things. There'll be more, and that's a really important point to make. In cryptocurrency, people always get FOMO and wish that they bought into certain cryptocurrencies, but there's always going to be another one. There's endless possibilities in cryptocurrency during a bull market, and we're all going to have time where we can make a huge trade and have great profits from it if we act correctly and make sure we have liquidity in the downwards movements by taking profits in the upwards movements. So that is all for today. I hope everybody has a lovely weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Thank you very much for watching.